Alithia stands in the doorway of a broken-down room. The crumbling walls of the ruined keep loom over her, a small, elven woman in wet, muddy clothes. Steady autumn rain falls out of the night sky onto the ruined keep as heaviness settles around it. The thick, thunderous air still and ominous before a storm. The ruined keep is quiet. Usually at this time of night, a throng is building as gang members settle in for an evening of drinking and visitors climb the hill from the village below, curious as to what secrets this gang's den hides. But tonight, there are only guards lining the balcony, heavy crossbows all pointed at Alithia. And there's Zabraf, standing alone at the bar, a bottle of red on the wooden tabletop, wine glasses lined up, clean and shining in the lamplight. Everyone else has stayed in tonight, hunkering down in the thatched houses far below the keep, hiding away from what might threaten in the night. A still silence settles over the village. Usually the night is punctuated by shouts, laughter, and the screech from hawks in the rafters. But tonight, no sound, except the rumbling of Hrathia's voice in the meeting room. Samita, Zaymar, and Adalbert all turn to look over as Alithia opens the door. She has finished her talk with Hrathia, and many expressions pass over her small face as she walks out of the room. Behind her, the huge frame of Hrathia fills the doorway, a dark shadow that cuts out the light of the room. And that is where we'll pick up the session for tonight. If you'd like to unmute yourselves.
Right, you lot. We need to talk as a group.
We're here.
Anyway, well, come on then. We'll go back in the meeting room.
I turn around and glance at Adalbert, and then look meaningfully at the wine glasses.
Way ahead of you. He's already got his hands around the bottle and the glasses. Although being a man being an elf with only a certain amount of fingers, he kind of returns your gaze and looks to the bottle.
I sweep up the bottle and head off into the meeting room.
As we go, I can turn to Baha. Are you coming for this one?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Do I have enough glasses?
Zabraf did line up glasses on the bar ready, so you can grab some.
Yeah, but are there enough for everyone?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
He's just been cleaning them and putting them down one by one. There's like 10 all lined up on the bar now.
I'll take as many glasses as my hands can. I mean, this being me, I can probably take quite a few. Years of experience. Nat, Adalbert, either or, you know.
All right, so you're heading in. Where are you going to sit?
I don't. I wander over to my usual position, over by the gap in the wall,
Okay.
in the far corner.
Hrathia will be sat at the seat at the far end, as usual.
I'll have the other head, please.
Opposite Hrathia?
Yes.
Ooh, okay. Alithia?
So much politics in such
Yeah.
tiny thing.
Alithia's going to. Is there somewhere away from everyone, but where she can still kill? Here, in the middle, maybe against the wall.
Okay.
Where's Bron?
Bron is... Oh, you need a bit of... Sorry, it's a bit over, isn't it?
Well, he might not be near Harathe, but I was assuming he is, but he might not be.
So it doesn't update unless I reveal it, so I will open it up just for the sake of placing. Samita, what about you?
I'll sit on one of the chairs next to Harathe.
Back to Zamar or on the other side?
On the other side.
Wise move.
All right, everyone happy with that seating arrangement?
I'll probably go behind Samita, next to Bron on the floor, on the far side of Barathia.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
Yeah,
worries. All right.
Is the door closed?
Baha will, having seen everyone take positions, he will shut the door, giving a nod to the guard.
Right. I'm going to try and make this brief. Now, we've been working together for a little while. Now, you must know that you lot ain't the sort of people I'm used to working with.
I don't know, kind of
So I've
raises
been a
the
bit-
glass.
I've been a bit more relaxed than I would normally be. But if we ever want to be a proper team, there's a few things that I need to make a bit plainer. Now, normally, I don't ask questions. Best not to if you run a gang of criminals. Now, the point is, I don't need to trust you. I don't want to be your friend. But I do need patience so that we can be motivated together as a team. I might have said to you already, I'm used to working with, well, criminals, professionals, people who know what they're doing. And I guess I ain't told you what I expect. I need to be able to rely on you, and you can rely on me. So, if it comes to a fight, I got more experience than any of you lot. You need to follow my lead. Otherwise, someone's going to die.
Again, Aldri raises his glass.
Baha shakes his head. At you,
All right.
Adaba.
Zamar was sitting, Zamar was leaning, he's just tapping his lips slightly.
So, you know, in a fight, I'm going to take the lead. And I'm going to try and take the heat away from you lot. Because, you know, you're all weak and all that. But you can rely on me to try and take the heat, yeah? Now, just the same is if we need something, I don't know, sneaky, a bit less direct, then I rely on Zamar to do that. And we all do, right? Now, no one else here has got a way of getting rid of corruption, yeah? So we rely on Adalbert to do that. And when we get in trouble, which we seem to do fairly often, we're going to need Lithia to heal us. Or to wipe out shitloads of enemies with one moonbeam. Sort of thing that we can't do. Did you get my point? We all need each other, and we need to be able to rely on each other to do our jobs. And that means knowing what you're good at and avoiding what you ain't.
Okay. I have one thing.
Go on.
How do we make sure that we do not go needlessly into danger? We tried once against the Tower of Durain, and it did not go well.
All right. I'll put my hands up to that. I'm too used to being able to do that sort of shit. So yeah, I got people killed and I got to live with that.
Well, we need a way to collectively agree that something is too much.
All right. You got to voice your opinions, yeah? I ain't against that. And I'll listen to you. Now, don't take no offense, but I might not always do what you say. But you
I
can
would
at
expect
least
nothing less.
say something. All right? I ain't no military man, you know? I don't want to be giving orders and shit. I just want people to know what they're doing. Like, I haven't spoken to Samita, or whatever she wants to call herself. But I want you all to know that if it weren't for her, we'd probably all be dead right now. Now, she's paid a price for that. But in my book, she's done good. So as from now, as long as she's here, she's pretty much one of us.
Seymour cocks his head slightly to one side. Well,
Isn't she always?
Sorry, Matt, what was that?
Hasn't she always been?
Samita, one of us.
We do not know Samita very well. We do not know her intentions. She has been very plain and very honest so far, and she has indeed done exactly what you said, and she has given greatly for that. But I would remember that her allegiance is to the Empress. Is that not right, Samita?
Throughout all of this, she's just been looking from one person to another. She's being discussed as though she were not there. Quite curious. And that anyone who paid attention would definitely have seen a spark of surprise at Harathi's words. But she nods in agreement with your assertion. She is indeed loyal to the Empress.
So case in point, we don't know Samita very well. And I'm not quick to trust, and like I said, I don't need to, but I know her motivation. She's working for the Empress, and the Empress wants to sort out Rogerton. Well, so do we. So our interests are aligned, as they say.
And who is above the Empress now?
Who's above the Empress?
The Empress follows the Huntress, who is also the patron of the Golden Leaf. So while Samita may allegiances lie to the Empress, there is still one unifying being for us all.
For you, maybe.
For the
No.
Golden Leaf, Arathia.
Yeah, fine, all right. So in a way, you're saying I work for her. Fine. Don't have to like her, though, do I? And I don't have to do what she says, unless she decides to make me.
This is all well and good. I only have one point, Arathia, if I may. As you said, you are used to working with criminals. I speak for myself, I speak for Ellie, I'm sure. That is something we will never be. And as long as you're happy with that, I'm happy to follow your lead.
Yeah, I didn't like it when I stole the amber.
Yeah, well, I don't expect you to be criminals, but I do expect you to be gang members, because that's what it is still. Only I'm trying to make it a different kind of gang, all right? We're going to try and make a difference. And the only difference that matters right now is fighting against that corruption. So I know you're motivated for that, and that's all I really need. But you got to be motivated to work for gang as well. And for some of you, I'm not necessarily that sure that you're that motivated to be a gang member. He'll briefly look at Alethea. and Adalbert just fleetingly.
What does it mean to be a gang member?
Is there a code?
Yeah, not written down, though, right?
I have made my intentions with you clear from the start, Herathia. I know my ultimate goal, as you know yours. While they are on the
What's
same
your
path,
goal?
I will visit their thesis. My university.
Oh.
In case Herathia. I am part of this gang because I believe in what we are doing. As you said, I believe that the corruption must be stopped. After that, when we have attained that goal, as you know, I will go my own way. I will set up my studies. I shall continue them. But until then, I will work and I will follow you to stop this blight.
All right, fair enough. What are you getting out of it, Olivia? Working with a
told
gang, I
you.
mean.
I'm trying to find my place, and I don't know if my place is in a gang. I don't know what a gang does. Like, you're saying you're not criminals, but what do you do?
I didn't say we weren't criminals from a certain point of view. Fact is, we'll do things that might be illegal. And that right now, this group at least, will do whatever it takes to stop corruption. And I don't care about law or any of that shit. Anything, whatever it takes.
I don't care about law either, but there's a right thing to do. And yeah, I can understand. I know I want to get rid of corruption too. And I'm willing to do lots, but I think we need to go about it the right way. And as for like the gang, I still don't understand, but I'm just trying to find my place,
All right.
wherever that might be.
All right, my point is, if I tell you to do something, can you just do it?
Do I not do that?
It kind of takes a
All right.
I wonder, Ellie, whether the terminology here is misleading. Gang, I think you'll agree, Herathia, has certain connotations. We are, gang label or not, an elite task force set to rid the world of corruption and make it a safer place. That, Ellie, I am sure is something you agree with. And you know I would not do something that goes against my own morals in order to achieve that. And while he has his Adler quickly looks to Herathia, quirks, I believe that Herathia can aid us all in achieving that goal. So forget the word gang. Forget a label for us. We are a group of competent, of strong, like-minded individuals who are doing a good thing.
Boy, what you want. But we ain't just the task force. We're part of a larger, wave his arm at the door, gang. So, let's say you see another gang member, I don't know, stealing something, slitting someone's throat, under gang business. What are you going to do?
frankly, I'm not sure I could actually point out half the other gang members of this place.
Most of the people in the town are a gang. At least before the refugees turned up. Sometimes dirty things need to be done, but I'm trying to make sure that they're done to the right people, the people who deserve it, to get my drift. Fine.
Cut out the rot.
Yeah. And like I said, if you disagree, like I said to Zayma, if you disagree with what I'm doing, say something. But you better not do it in front of the entire gang, or else we might have problems. And if I decide to ignore your advice, then suck it up. Stick with a plan. And if we're hiding from 40 mounted undead elves, likely 2 or 3 of them could take us down because we're knackered. If I'm keeping my head down and waiting, you do the same thing. If we're going to attack, we do it together. Otherwise, we ain't got no advantage. I don't know if it occurred to you, but we got adult bears or the whispers thing. Fucking useful. They got something similar. They were talking to each other. So if we take someone out like that, we got to do it before they can get word out. We got to do it quick. That's called working together. So we're going to need to have all the whispers up at pretty much every time we're in conflict, yeah? And no one acts alone. All right, there'll be times when you act alone, I get it. But if we're talking combat, we've got to strike together. That's what teams do.
Well, next up, where are we going?
He'll wave his hand at, conceding the floor, so to speak.
Commander, I have a few items to discuss as well while we're here.
Go for it.
So, on Adalbert's wishes, Astravi were sent to scout. We saw a number of Forgotten Tribe triremes dropping off down the south coast, like they did here. They withdrew when they withdrew here too. So it looks like it wasn't just here they were searching. In addition, I meant to say earlier, but it passed my mind. I got the Golden Spike to dock down below in case we needed to make a quick getaway. And the final piece of news is a bit more serious. I've been hearing from the Astravi since the heartbeat. They're not very keen on talking, but they all felt something. All felt sick is the word that they used. So we need to use caution when we take advantage of their services.
You think that they are not trustworthy anymore?
I think Adalbert needs to keep an eye on them.
They turn on us. We could barely take on one Astravi, I'm sure.
That's what worries me.
We've invited these things in, and we do not know at all how to attack them. Even that one time when Sturrock was corrupted, we couldn't do anything against him.
I don't know, I thought I handled him pretty well.
It worked out.
That time.
As long as we keep them from the heart of the battles. Essentially, I have no doubt where we go, there will be corruption. So as long as when we're going forth from here, we ensure they drop us off a slight distance from our destination.
Something else, though. If we could stop worrying about them being corrupted, they'd be fucking useful. So, this is another thing on your plate then, Adalbert. It'd be bloody useful to be able to protect them in some way. Not just cure corruption after the fact, beforehand. Is that possible?
My mask does something very similar.
And how does it work?
Magic.
Seymour rolls his eyes.
Seems like sometimes magic can do anything, and other times, maybe not.
How does it... Is it something that you crafted yourself? Is it something that you have the power to craft?
This mask is much older than I. It was a gift when I left Danpao from my role. It is... I believe I can at least attempt to make similar things. It will be... The magic will be through language. With all magic is manipulating the world around it. So I will, as I did with the items removing corruption, you adjust your language, you adjust the spells for the environment. This mask has had a specific spell put on it and inscribed with runes and glyphs. I will need to explore it and adjust it for whatever we use, but it's replicable, I'm sure.
That may be the best news I've heard in some time. We now have corruption at our gates. I don't know if you've noticed, but out the window down in the village, it is seeping through between those huts we were at.
Is it coming from the floor?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that heartbeat was the ground opening up?
Nope.
Ozemai was having a chat with our little boy, that shit Aldrinor. Seems like every time he appears there's a heartbeat. Could be as linked to him.
Do you think he causes it or is summoned by it?
Will be summoned by it. Something of those sorts.
What did he say anyway? Only got bits of it.
Mm. This is where things become complex. We have, on the one hand, Aldrinor, and for some reason he chooses to speak to me, though I owe him no allegiance, and he is clearly aware of such, but he is nevertheless apparently a child, and he speaks that way. It is very difficult to negotiate with such a being, but he said some very disturbing things. I agreed if he would route his armies, the 40,000 that are on their way here. I made an agreement that if I told him what I saw at Rogerton, that they would leave Trillin alone.
You believe that?
I am able to keep that information from him and wait for him to make good on his promise.
What were your exact words, Neymar? As I said, language is everything in the world.
He said, "Tell me what you see at Rogerton." And I said, "Then you will bring the armies of Trillin will never come near Trillin. The armies that he owns, and at that point, remember, he had not yet ceded the knowledge that he was in charge of those armies, but his intellect escaped him at that point, and he agreed that the armies were in fact in his control. He seemed a little bit perturbed by the fact that he let slip that information, but he does in fact control these armies. I said, if you cause your armies to not go near Trillin, I would tell him what I saw at Rogerton. Now, that obviously poses some interesting issues. Why would he need me to tell him what I saw at Rogerton?
And more interestingly, do you need your eyes, Zima?
I need at least one of them, but yes.
At all times?
Zayar looks sideways at Adelbert. Exactly. Says, he's slightly unsure of himself, but he says, I don't. So there are some ways that we can see, and other ways that I do not need to go. Nevertheless, we do have an interesting problem. I was able to gain one extra piece of information. I've been withholding it from now because I believe that Baratheon should know, not exactly first, but I will offer the information to you and the reason why I've yet to release it.
Oh, spit it out, man.
Let's say that we have... I do not know if this information was divulged. He whispered it to me. I do not know if it was a test as to whether I can keep this information to myself or not. That is the interesting thing. If I divulge it here, and I gesture over to Samita and Albert, we have followers of the Huntress here. It will make it back to her. Now, I do not know what the Huntress's methods are of... Maybe she can read my mind or do whatever. I do not know. But if I divulge this information and it gets back to the Huntress, then Aldrinor will know that I have divulged that information to him.
How will he know?
Because the Huntress will presumably make plans, given this knowledge.
I'm not sure she's doing squat. She buggered off when she could have twatted those lot, those fucking...
I would not presume to know the machinations of the Huntress. It's your choice,
Right.
Rathia.
Well, tell me then. You know, flick his ring. So
Is
that
it-
sounds wrong, but you know what I mean?
Is it important that Samita and I hear it?
Sorry, could you say that again, Matt? I was laughing over the Sophie.
Said, is it important that Samita and I hear it? We can always step outside for a moment, if you feel that would be helpful.
Watching Horathia screw him.
So I don't give a shit if you tell them. It's your own fucking deal with that stupid little kid.
I have no allegiance to Algernon. I'm just saying that there may be consequences. I'm happy to divulge it. I would not have spoken of it if I did not think that it was a possibility that I would need to divulge.
Oh, for fuck's sake, just tell me.
Okay. I will speak for everybody then. Yes?
I didn't say that.
Okay. I'll touch my wristband and then speak to send a message to Horathia.
All right. While that's happening, there's a brief moment of very obvious silence because Zamar is talking to Horathia telepathically, effectively. So, what are the rest of you doing?
I will take the moment of silence to write a small note and turn to Adalbert and request the Hall of Echoes once again, because despite, even if I wanted to overcome my impediment, writing or talking right now would be much slower than thinking.
And I'll, as soon as they've finished their little conversation, I will put it up.
I will attempt to say thank you out loud.
So Zaymar finishes touching the bracelet and then looks over at Harathia pointedly.
All right, he's saying something back like he's able to.
I want to read Harathia's reaction. I'm specifically looking at his facial reaction rather than the reply that comes back.
Well, okay, so it's like it's a WTF, isn't it? So what the fuck?
Exactly.
All right, I guess everyone can see a surprised reaction from Harathia.
I don't. I'm making like a flower chain out of like little blooms. I'm making.
Of course you are.
Is like clearly impressed with this conversation. Just like doesn't give a monkeys.
All right, roll a dexterity check.
For me,
Yeah.
that's 16.
Okay. This is one of your best flower crowns that you've ever made. That's it.
I will put it on Bron.
Okay, Bran is looking very sleepy, and has only one eye open, and is sort of watching Harathia and Zaymar. When you put the crown on, his eyes flick over in your direction. Well, his eye, and he shuts his eye for a second, and then opens it again. But otherwise, there's no reaction.
Okay, so he looks and frowns, but tries his best to ignore it.
Sorry, I was too involved in the thing. I forgot to look at the reply.
So, for those of you who are joining us, this is Bran. He is a direwolf, a companion of Harathia, and is currently sitting by the table where everyone is chatting, with one eye open.
Okay, I turn to Harathia, and after the message comes back, and I say, his.
Which is fine, but what do we know about this kid?
Well, he certainly has godlike powers.
Wait, Adalbert, did you say your brother had met him?
Yes, they travelled together for a while. I'm just going to open up the Hall of Echoes so we can all talk freely and swiftly. And I cast Hall of Echoes and invite in Baha, Ellie, Samita, Harathia, and Zaymar.
Few glad I'm on the list there.
How about add Brian in too?
I don't think I can. I think it's 5 people.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry.
One day.
Yeah.
We can all continue speaking audibly, or we can, and then he kind of goes silent and he goes, or we can communicate here via the Hall of Echoes. And he just nods to Samita.
Yeah, so any communication from me,
no,
if I
that
speak,
makes
will be
sense.
in there by default.
So, seeing as you've been handicapped, what have you got to say? Anything?
She looks at Harathir again quite intently. She's been taking notes this whole time, but not about the conversations at hand. More arranging her own thoughts. And she closes the notebook and puts a hand on top of it. And she gives him a very intense stare and then thinks into the Hall of Echoes and says, Algernon spoke to me as well.
What, just now?
Before, after the heartbeat. When it happened, I was surprised. And after the stories you told me, my first thought was simply of him. And it seems that he took notice. He said nothing much of value, except for one thing. He asked me if I knew where the princess was. He would trade me some information that he knew as well in return. I took a gamble, and I told him that I thought she was in the treehouse. He told me that she is not, and that she is in fact in the shadow plane.
All right.
Gamble that.
The next question
you're
is,
not in
what
the
do we
treehouse
do about it?
anymore.
Sorry, I had two people speaking. I only heard Zema. What did you say, Harafi?
Well, what do we do about it? It's not like we can go in after her, even if we wanted to.
No, but it does raise some interesting questions, and one, Zema, that you made as well. He knows this, but he cannot see inside Rogaton, for example.
Suspected.
Wait, Algernon can't see in Rogaton?
Nope.
Otherwise, why would he need someone else to go and look for him? He asked me to as well. I declined.
Right, but he can see in Trillion.
Apparently.
So
But
does
with
that mean
this,
he can hear as well? Does that mean we're going to have these sort of conversations every time in the Hall of Echoes?
I don't think so.
There is an interesting possibility that perhaps he, while he uses corruption, I wonder if he, maybe this is why Rogaton is so important, is that it's the one place they can't see. Maybe the fact that there is a corruption and a crack that has appeared there, maybe that is the source of the corruption. Maybe that is where it started.
Look, they're all corrupted themselves. That don't make sense. Why should a corrupted place be stopping from seeing what's going on?
I don't think that the two things are. I do not think that the two things are related. It might be that Rogaton has something special about it already. It's possible that it is not directly related to the corruption. I wonder if there is something there that we went to Rogaton before, and there was a church there, and there was a crack, and it was filled with the mist. And that was the first time that we saw it, that mist. We chose not to go down into it at that point, but since then, corruption or this mist seems to have been springing up in other places. I wonder, Adalbert, what's the timeline? Is there a possibility that... I just wonder if Rogaton is the epicenter of everything. Lauf was afterwards. All these other places have been afterwards.
It's possible. What I know from my books and what my brothers and his associates were discovering, where do you build a holy site, like a church?
Where you got people, worshippers and shit.
And?
I don't know, on a hill.
You're right, settlements, of course, would have their own places of worship. But early churches, early holy sites were built on holy places, where there were links between the worlds, where there were signs of the gods. What I know about corruption, and what I said my brother and his associates were identifying, churches, especially older churches, more often than not are sources. Whether this is because they're built on places where those the gaps between the realms are especially thin, where there are more miracles, for example, or those holy sites. I don't know, but it is. I do not know for certain, but it is a possibility Rogerton is the site of one of these earlier churches, one of these holy sites, where there was links between the Shadow Realm or others, which is why it is one that is earlier corrupted and potentially a site that is unseeable for.
All right. What sort of earlier church? Are we still talking Forgotten God? Are we talking something else?
Across the world, so the Iron Church of Dorassus across the water. It is simply their holy sites were built on earlier holy sites, and they're the ones being corrupted. There is a symbol, the iron shield, and a
I
crescent.
have a sudden thought.
Go ahead, Bethany.
Because, you know how they said the princess has gone into the Shadow Realm? And then now we've got corruption coming in Trillon. Do you think that heartbeat happens and something goes in and out of the Shadow Realm? And there's like, I don't know, a tear between the worlds?
Perhaps if something big went through, but those crabs.
What, like a dragon?
Huh.
Simon, can I roll? I don't know if it'd be kind of religion or arcana to kind of see whether I think Ellie's got something here. Because it sounds sensible to me.
Yeah, roll Arcana.
That is
Awesome idea.
You don't get a bonus
17.
for Matt thinking it's right.
17.
Adalbear agrees with Matt. Yeah, it does sound feasible. Certainly if shadow magic is involved, which you are beginning to have a suspicion is quite important in this discussion, then it makes sense that a connection to the Shadow Realm is required and it could be involved. So if there were a tear, then that would definitely cause these kind of symptoms.
Do we think, Adalbert, do we think these cracks are a tear to the Shadow Realm?
It's certainly a possibility. If
Should we go in?
We've never been in.
Sorry, Ellie.
Should we go into the tears?
I do not know enough about the other realms to send us all in.
Roll Arcana.
Maybe I do know enough.
Maybe you're just keeping it.
No, hold that thought. I haven't finished my sentence. Roll Arcana, Herathia, and Zamar.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god.
That's highly unlikely. I should point out.
As long as we're not going anywhere, I might use a luck roll on this one.
So Arcana.
Yeah, I know it's a punt, but
8.
the conversation is largely going over your head, and the connection that I might bring up is not going to occur to you for sure.
As I like it.
Yeah.
Zamar decided to be lucky on this. So now we have a 21.
Ooh.
Ooh, very nice. I can tell you a lot more, but I will start off by giving you a hint to see if you just put things together yourself. Lady Learcane.
Oh, right. This room. I look over at Herathia. Do you remember the portal that we saw in
Lady Drain's Tower?
Indeed. I turn around to Adalbert and I use my best efforts to describe what we saw.
Okay.
Is that possible?
I
cannot remember exactly because in game time it was about 10 times longer.
Pratta's got a real big frown of concentration, like I don't know, like a caveman or something.
All right. Roll intelligence with advantage. Assuming you're going to try and help, Horatia.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Zoma. Roll intelligence. Roll history with advantage.
History. Oh my god.
Do I see him struggling?
You certainly see Horatia furrow his brow.
Oh, is he trying to help me though?
But do I see Zamar struggling?
You can see him thinking back. Yeah.
So just to sort of put words into the advantage roll. So Horatia will say something like, "Paul didn't have like mist pouring from it or something similar."
I
did, yeah.
If you need, the gods can help you. And I'll just like pat him gently.
Pat Zamar, right?
You get
around the
Zamar. No, I'll scooch round. I'll come round.
Zamar flinches somewhat as you come over, as he normally does.
But Horatia will nod in your direction, and if he does have a standing rule about magic in the keep, after all.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, does that happen?
Yeah, you get a D4.
Yeah.
Cool. Right, okay. D4. Let's see what. Okay, that's +2, and then with advantage. To begin with, and that's much better. Okay. Okay. And this is an intelligence check.
History.
Okay. Sorry?
History
check. Okay, that's fine. So that would be a 21.
So I don't have I haven't memorized the description, and I'm not going to hunt around for it. So I'm going to describe it, and my own memory is going to have to be as accurate as you get. But I do vividly have a description. So the first thing you described to Adalbert is that when you approached the room, there was a long corridor that as you walked down it, it started to shift in dimension. It seemed a bit weird. And you weren't sure whether it was longer or shorter than the reality. And also the room no longer fitted inside the structure of the Lady Dorain's tower. When you got into the room, the walls almost seemed to be disappearing, and there was a strange mist on the floor. There was, in the center of this almost hexagonal shape, there was a iron staircase that went around in a spiral, and at the top of the iron staircase there was a portal. But more amusingly, considering the context, there was a large shaped object at the top of the stairs that, from Zamar's description, you immediately would recognize, using your esoteric knowledge, is an egg. It was a large broken egg made of some kind of dark stone.
Like a dragon egg.
Like a dragon egg.
That's right. I remember actually. That's what. When Zamar looked at it, he remembers back now. He actually looked at it and he did think that looks like a dragon egg at the time.
Yeah, I remember that egg. I just thought it was where Lady Leo might come from. They might all hatch from eggs, mightn't they?
Yes, indeed. I mean, who knows? It was unclear at the time. The whole place was shifting. It was strange to get in there, and fairly uncomfortable.
Did you get the impression the egg came from the portal, or whatever came from the egg went to the portal?
I'm going to say something just to keep it in character, and then you can correct me after.
Will do.
I had the opinion that maybe it was powering the portal. Something was coming from. Was something coming from it, or
Black mist.
Yes, black mist was
A lot.
coming from it.
Yeah. It did seem to be forming the portal above it. Yeah.
This now makes. That's right. This is. It's all. I had put it to the back of my memory. This makes much more sense now with the knowledge that Serene brought to us about the corrupted dragons. If they're using the dragon's eggs and the life force that was perhaps inside to mix with the shadow realm, perhaps. I'm out of my depth here, but
no, but it's interesting. We have two words for this. We have the black mist, and we have corruption. What if we know, as you just pointed out, we know the dragons are highly susceptible to corruption. I wonder whether the black mist is a part of whatever part of the race of the dragons, and it has been corrupted through some. Like, we know the dragons.
Do you think the dragons aren't bad? We don't think it's come from the dragons themselves. It's just something that's made the dragon go bad, like eggs.
I do wonder. The dragons were the dominant species. They set up trading with different empires, and then they all but disappeared. While corruption is later, I wonder whether there's a reason we have two words for it. There's the black mist and there is corruption.
So you're saying that this mist is just linked to this shadow place where the Astravian dragons maybe come from, and the reason they got a problem with corruption is because it's the shadow place that's been corrupted.
That is certainly a hypothesis, yes.
Do we? So
Well,
we can either uncorrupt a realm.
It may not be the entire realm, but the essence of the shadow has a virus, let's say. Just as there can be viruses within.
Well, we need to speak to the princess and find out how she gets into the shadow realm and comes out. Because if it's something that she thinks about and does it, then we can't do anything. But if it's not on purpose, what if we stitch up the tears?
those cracks are fairly large.
Maybe magic can help bring it together. I don't know. Do you think that will work, Marty?
My brother used to try to mend small tears. The pressure usually defeated him, but it highlights it is possible they can be mended.
Seymour Seymour leans back and then he's just puts his hand on his head and he's just Horathia, I don't think we can get further in this discussion unless I reveal.
Oh, fuck it. Who gives a shit? Go on.
So, I tried to ascertain from Aldenor exactly what he thought the heartbeat was from and what was causing it. He said 2 words to me. My dad. If this is true, and Aldenor is in fact God being, then this is his own father. The next thing that I have now, having had this discussion here, and leads me to the next possibility, and this would make sense, is that perhaps Algernon is trying to find his dad, his father. And if that's so, maybe these cracks forming, perhaps that's why he took Lauf. They've been trying to, we know that they were drawing power from it, but maybe they're both trying to widen the cracks. We know that they have been digging there. We know that they have been trying to excavate. And now they're building a massive pyramid, I think, over the crack. I wonder if he's either trying to communicate with his dad or he's trying to help him. And this is where I now step fully out of my range, but what if that heartbeat is him waking up? What if that heartbeat is a god waking up?
You're saying his father's a god?
He's a god. If it's his father.
No, all this talk of gods and shit. That's the point at which I say, well, what the fuck can we do about that? So if a god wakes up, what are we going to do? I mean...
Every time the heartbeat happens, the corruption appears. If the god is in the shadow plane, or the god is beneath the ground, and it's being held there, and the cracks, when they appear, they release him, or he wakes up.
Right. The point is, what are we going to do? So we're going to go to Rogerton, and at that point, it seems like we've got two choices. We either try and get into the shadow realm, whatever you want to call it, or we try and close it up. I prefer the latter idea. Don't know about anyone else. But the point is, how the fuck do we do either?
I do not know.
If what you're saying is correct, Zamar, and these sites are amplifiers, if one is destroyed or knocked off balance, one would hope whatever signal, whatever idea is being amplified would no longer be doing so. And he kind of takes two glasses and kind of knocks them together, and then you can hear the ringing between them. If I move the glasses closer, and kind of the ringing around the rims should kind of get louder. And now he drops, Adelaide drops one of the glasses. It stops.
That's a glass. Does it apply to magic? Does it apply to corruption? Well, nevertheless...
If it is the amplification process that you suggested, it should be, I would assume, the same principles.
I do not think of it that way. I do not know whether I'm correct, of course, but I imagine that if there was a god sleeping below this very world, and that it was waking up, that it would cause cracks. Every time that heartbeat happens, a crack forms. And however this god was put to sleep, or is waking up, or whatever you want to call it, if every time it wakes up a little bit more cracks form, more mist comes out. Maybe the only way to do it is to either put it back to sleep.
Oh yeah, so we're going to put a god to sleep.
I would not attempt that. But
Look, is there anything useful going to come out of this now? I think we've taught ourselves to fucking death.
I do not know.
Right, how long do you need, Adalbert, before we head to Rogerton?
That depends on what we hope I can accomplish in that time.
Well, I mean, I hope you can get rid of the mist. Or if it turns out there's a doorway to the shadow realm, to close it.
I don't have the books that would be needed, and it would be a long wait until they arrive. I can prepare us as best I can. If you give me a few days, I can see what I can about creating, or at least exploring the idea of creating some protection for each of us. But I'm not going to get the answers magically or otherwise in a few days.
So
I have spent.
Do we wait or do we go now?
I have spent 60, 70 years studying to this point. I learn something new every day, but I think we're going to need practical answers as opposed to me finding them in a book. I would request a few days and I can put together what defense for us all I can. But then I think we head out.
I wonder if we should have spoken to those bugs.
Spoken to bugs.
The ones from the Shadow Realm.
Can you?
I could try.
I am sure if we're heading to Rogerton, we will likely encounter some again.
It takes 10 minutes though, and then if they go in my head again, I don't want that.
If we can... I'm sure if we found one, we could.
And if you make a good point, you're too important, right? You do things that no one else can do. We need someone, like Baha to look after you when we're gone.
Huh?
I'll put someone on it.
She has people on it, Herathia. And she's very good at...
Wait, where are you You're leaving me?
No, he's talking about bodyguards, Ellie. And I'm saying you're very good at evading.
Roll Arcana, Adelbert.
20 non-natural.
Nice. Apart from the spells that you have at your disposal and choosing the right ones, there's not much you can do in wear preparation that won't take a really long time. So there's not much difference between leaving now and spending some time, a few days. It's the same.
Maybe I can get Galila to get another one. And not kill it. Just trap it. Maybe, do you think the plants, near the crack would know?
You're muted, Zoma.
I'm not entirely sure that the crabs weren't guided by another being. Remember, we saw the footprint last time, and I think it came with that. So I don't think we can simply go out and find these crabs. I think that if we're going to find anything, we will find it, unfortunately, and I do not want to return, we will find it at Rogerton. If we're going to go, we may as well go.
So do we go now, or do we have a night's rest and then leave in the morning?
I think leave in the morning.
All right, unless anyone's got something else important to say, I say the meeting's over.
I will think briefly. Do you have any objections if I attempt to meet with the princess?
How?
I'll go look for her.
In the shadow plane?
I think that she is in both places at once.
Yeah. Baha nods. Certainly, the Astravi said she's still in Alicia's treehouse. Asleep, from what they said.
All right. Do you want anyone to go with you?
I think it'd be best if I went alone.
Well, we all need a good night's sleep, so...
Right. Have I got your message to the Empress Kevin?
Yeah, you should have it. Although I didn't actually fully write it out yet. My apologies.
Right. Well, before we go, I'm going to be sending a message along with some meters to the Empress using our painting. Anyone got anything to add to it aside from send us a load of fucking soldiers?
And books. Anything the library has on the different planes that they can find and put together.
I tell you what then, Annabelle, you like writing posh messages. You write it, but make sure it's pretty plain that Hrathir would fucking needs a bunch of soldiers if we're going to defend Trillin. Look at it this way from our point of view. If we can do something about, if we can twat these 40,000 fucking owls, think what a dent it'll put on the Forgotten Tribe and corruption in this area.
Why don't you put down exactly what you want to say, and then I shall include it in a formally well-executed letter.
You're halfway. I just did. All right.
You mean you'll translate, Ethelbert?
He just smiles.
Do you think if I became one of those crabby things, I could figure out how to get to the shadow plane? I can try before sleep.
Seymour steps back slightly.
Yeah, exactly. Hrathir's just got a, like, why the hell are you asking me sort of expression on his face. Not that you probably were.
Oh. Yeah, I see Hrathir's expression, and I turn to Lithia. You may do whatever you can try to do, but at least thank you for warning us, as I imagine the reaction would be pretty bad if you did so here in the meeting room.
What do you think Samitha and Bertie? Yeah, go on.
When you first transform into a new creature, how natural is it to be them, to act in their way, to communicate in their way, to think like them?
Well, I've been this one before, so maybe it's better now, because I know a little bit more about it.
This isn't my area of magic. My thought would be, just think back to your previous transformations. When I remember the first time I saw you, after many, many years, you pounced on me. Were you a panther? A leopard? A panther? I thought so. Yes. Not the way one usually greets an old friend, but your movements, the stalking, the pouncing, it was natural. It was only your eyes that gave you away. So I wonder, how many transformations in a panther did it take you to move that way?
TM.
Sorry, I was looking at chat.
Be a cat. Sorry.
What's the question?
How long does it take to move like a panther? How many spells?
We back to that question. So Lithia, you and Adalbert have actually discussed this before in a previous session. You don't get the phasing teleportation type stuff.
Oh, I don't get it. Okay,
No.
that's fine. Never mind.
I was also going to say
do it.
that as there is now a break, Mastermind has given Hrathir a point of inspiration. So thanks, Mastermind.
Thank you.
Hrathir now has a point of inspiration to be used whenever needed.
Thank you very much.
All right, so
can I use it on combat rolls? I'm not sure how it works.
yeah, you can use it on any.
Really? Wow, that's cool.
I'll save it.
So Adalbert is going to work with Hrathia briefly before going to bed on a letter to the Empress. Alithia and Zema, what are you doing while Smita heads off to the to find the princess?
I'll be going downstairs to my room, and I'm probably going to basically assemble all of my daggers as per usual for etc. etc. Try to just go through and lay out all my equipment on the floor and get it all right.
Okay, preparing for the next day. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then.
Okay. Alithia?
We've had a long rest, haven't we?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, you might have spent something today. I'm not sure, but
No, I haven't. Okay, so I'm basically going to go to the plants that the huntress made grow.
Ah, yeah. Okay. So outside the Rune Keep, there are some trees, saplings that grew to a 3-year-old height of a sapling in just a few turns.
And I'm going to say hey.
Are you going to say hey with any spell or just?
Yeah.
Say, okay. What spell is that?
Speak with plants.
All right.
And it wasn't speak with animals.
I've had that for a while.
Speak with the dead and she slices them in half.
Yeah.
So I did a bit of research in preparation for this. It's quite an interesting, set of research by a scientist who's discovered something about carbon. I can't remember what the term is, but there's a tree will give resources to its young through a carbon network under the ground, which is quite interesting. It's called the something network. Yeah, so that talking to plants is not just a dumb idea. There is actually some wisdom there.
Sounds like Avatar.
Yeah, yeah, real life Avatar. And they have friends. They actually sort of look after each other and things as well. Okay, so you cast a spell and you're standing outside the Rune Keep in the dark on your own. With a bunch of saplings in the middle of the road.
Hi, huntress saplings.
Hi.
So, what was it like growing so quickly?
Very fast.
And growing quickly, did you learn anything about the huntress?
The huntress gave us life.
Okay, do you know, is that what the huntress does?
No.
Do you know what the huntress does?
Yes.
If you don't mind me asking, what is it that she does?
She hunts.
But then why would you grow?
Life.
But isn't hunting death?
Yes.
Then how can she give you life?
I don't know.
Am I bothering you?
No. This is fun.
Okay, so you don't know anything about the huntress?
I do.
What do you know? Everything you know, just tell me everything.
She hunts.
Nothing else.
No.
Okay, did you feel the heartbeat?
Yes.
Do you know what that was?
Yes.
Can you tell me?
Yes. Oh, you want me to tell you?
God, this is excruciating.
Sorry. Yes?
It's brilliant.
It's a heart.
What, do you know what's the heart of?
No.
How do you know it's a heart?
Sounds like a heart.
And is it in the ground? Can you feel it? Or is it lower than that?
I feel not ground. Somewhere different.
Okay. And did you feel that black mist coming?
Yes.
How does that make you feel?
Icky.
I know, I think it's icky too. Do you know why it makes us feel so icky?
No.
Do you think it's from here?
No.
Do you know where it comes from? Can your roots tell?
The ground.
But you're in the ground and you're not icky.
True. How long does this spell last?
Sorry. Speak with fun, sorry. 10 minutes.
Oh my god. Brilliant.
All right. Is there anything else you want to ask the plant?
Is there a place where this mist stuff is coming from?
Somewhere away.
Okay. Relative to where the sun gets up, where? In the same direction, away from the sun,
Away.
away from the sun. So, west.
Away.
Okay, Mr. Plant. You're in the middle of a road. You can't move by any chance, can you?
I am a tree.
Okay. All right then. Bye.
Goodbye.
That was amazing. Oh god. That was the most riveting plant conversation ever. I was hanging on every word.
Some interesting questions, though.
Yeah.
All right. However, yeah, Marvin. As I was doing it, I suddenly realised halfway through it sounded a bit like that, didn't it? Especially the old Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy radio play.
Yes.
Oh.
I was thinking more of like the sloth in Zootopia.
Oh, I don't know that.
Moving in slow motion.
However, I would like to do the Kevin's chat with the princess
Yeah, go for it.
away from ears. So
Okay.
I'm going to have to ask you all to turn off your sound.
Sorry.
Yep.
I'll just take my headphones off, so please can you put in the...
In chat, I'll say
chat.
when we're finished.
Thank you very much.
And chat, please don't do any spoilers in the chat, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So you are heading
To the treehouse.
to the treehouse. As I said earlier, it's dark, so you find yourself walking through thick jungle on a simple path that was created when the treehouse was built. And you are soon made aware of Golden Leaf, who melt out of the shadows and stand there with their spears watching you go past the guards that were placed around the treehouse. And as you get closer, there's more of them until you get to the entrance of the treehouse. And you need to climb up. The guards are quite heavily present when you arrive. And there's one woman standing with her arms folded, leaning against the entrance to the treehouse, watching you as you climb, with a simple dirty brown tunic and breeches, and a chainmail shirt underneath. And she gives you a nod as you arrive.
I'll nod back, and I'll before actually moving past her, I'll just gesture up, like asking for permission without saying anything, and waiting for affirmation that I can actually pass.
She gives you a nod.
All right, then I'll start climbing, and as I'm going up, I'm already trying to communicate in the way that we did previously. And I'll ask, Maya, are you there? In Arassian.
Okay, there's no answer. It isn't until you reach the entrance to the doorway and look in that you have any contact, and it's a visual one. She's standing there in a very simple black silk dress, long down to the bare feet, and she's currently got her hair up in a bun with a couple of lacquered sticks pushed through. Very simple, not dressed up, and she's just watching you as you come towards her. Roll a wisdom saving throw.
That is a total of 14.
You are being invited in to the equivalent of a Hall of Echoes.
Okay.
And you can resist if you want to.
I definitely don't.
Okay. In which case you immediately find yourself in a shadowy room with black and white square tiles. And you can make out courtiers, but there's strange shadowy shapes. And you can see that they're all wearing masks. And you can see Princess Mayanara standing with her mask held in a hand over the front of her face. And she is watching you. And her eyes are glowing dark blue, unnatural dark blue.
Do I still have my possessions with me? Or do I appear without them in this place?
You don't have your possessions, no.
Okay. I will approach, and just as an attempt, I will try still to think back to the mask that I procured before I set out, and try to reach for it, even though there's nothing there, and see if anything appears.
The mask appears naturally in your hand, and you're able to hold it as you would in real life.
So then I will do so, and at about a respectable distance before her, I will kneel, and I will say, I'm sorry if I woke you, Princess, and I'm sorry for intruding. But many things have developed since we last spoke, and I think at this point she allows her true emotions to come through, and her voice cracks, and she fails to necessarily say as much more, but she is a beacon of emotion, of just pure raw hurt and pain and sadness and loss. If that in any way comes through, then that's definitely there.
It does all come through, and you can tell without a roll that currently Princess Mayanara is back to her very impassive appearance, trying to keep no expression on her face, and trying to hide as much as she can. So roll insight.
Okay. That is a 16 on the die, plus 5 makes 21.
She's in pain, and it's not an emotional one. It looks like she's sort of holding her body very still, and even though this is a different reality that you're currently in, that is coming through in the image that she's presenting to you.
Okay.
And it's not related to what you're doing. It's something else that is on her mind. And because of that, there's a brief pause as you spoke. And then she moves forward suddenly, quickly, in this imaginary space, and puts her hand on your shoulder. Really, stand up. Stand up. I'm so sorry. This is a difficult time, I know, for both of us. So, please, stand up and forgive me.
I will stand up and look at her, concerned.
I was so shocked to see you. I thought you dead a long time ago.
I'm trying to get back.
Your whole family just... I was told... dead.
Mother took me and fled, but once we got to where we were going, she left me there. I thought she might have returned to you.
No. I saw nothing of your family again.
And her shoulders just sag. She's standing, but her shoulders sag for just a moment. And I'll see if she can steel herself. Okay. So she does manage to pull herself together a little more. And if she can, she'll take a moment to look around at the courtiers. Very suspiciously, looking for a shape that in any way resembles a little boy that's been described to her.
Roll perception.
Okay. Oh, damn. That is an 11.
All the shadowy figures that are there, as you look at them directly, the image kind of is hard to grasp, like it's a dream.
Okay.
And each shadow out of the corner of your eye looks adult in size. There are some shorter ones, but not child shape that you can see.
Okay. I will look right at her the moment that I don't see anything immediately. And I'll lower my voice, practically whispering, like just slightly above. And I will say, Maya, I don't know everything that's happening, and I cannot ask you for answers.
Okay.
But there are people here hunting not just you, but dragons. They claim that they are after you. And there is another, a small one that watches.
I did not know this. Who? Do you know?
A boy god. He knows about you, even if you do not know about him.
I think I do not know much.
Why are you here, Maya? Can you tell me anything?
Roll persuasion.
Okay. Okay, so I rolled on the die a 2 with my ability. That becomes a 17. So time.
Okay. She pulls back slightly at the passion in your voice, and gives you a nod of almost warmth from the memory that you two share.
Yeah.
I want to trust you, but I have to be careful because I can tell you, you will understand. This is my mission. My mother sent me here. So, you understand, this is a test. Even you, I have to see as a test.
She kind of takes in this information and she nods. No, I do understand. Perhaps better than I should. But okay, then do not tell me anything that will endanger you. But tomorrow we set out for Rogaton. And I have been speaking with the boy god in hopes of fixing an affliction that's been done to me. And so I don't know if she's actually been made aware yet, so I will open my mouth and attempt to show the actual tongue that I have.
Okay, and when you do, your tongue is normal in this reality.
I will stop and say, the huntress cursed me with a forked tongue.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Is there anything you know about Rogaton, or the mist and the corruption?
Nothing. I am here new, so
The boy god says that you are also in the shadow realm. Why does he say that?
and her expression changes immediately. And there's no attempt to hide the eyes. The eyes glow bright blue, and she kind of steps back slightly. You said what?
Boy god, and I will continue to remain quiet, but I obviously don't stay closer to her than she's comfortable with. Says that you were in the shadow realm. And that, as far as I know, is connected to this mist and corruption.
Then that god knows too much.
That's what I feared. But you must know, my allegiance is to my family.
You
So
can
I'm telling you
almost
this.
you can almost sense something physical close to you, but you can't see it because you're in this strange reality. But your physical body can feel something dangerous is very close to your own body. That she has physically come closer while this conversation has continued. I appreciate your words, but I do not know if I can trust you.
I understand.
Roll persuasion.
Okay. That makes for a 22.
Okay. She is saying that she doesn't trust you, and her actions are showing some form of fear. But you can see in her eyes that through the bright blue that there's a softening, and she's sort of considering what you said. I do want to remind you of something that you may have either remembered and chosen not to talk about, or you may have forgotten from when the character was set up. But there is a crucial piece of information that you have that she is unaware of.
That, in all of the revelations so far, I think that escapes me at the moment.
Okay, I will.
Any
I will just
hints you
send
can
it to you.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, no, that was in my head earlier.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because it's been a while.
Yeah. Please consider. I set out in the morning, and I don't know if I will return. Thank you for seeing me.
It's always good to see you. Now I know you're alive.
May I go?
You may.
Thank you, Princess.
She gives you a nod.
I will bow formally and walk backwards until I reappear, until I can see the physical world again.
Okay. The moment she says you may, the reality ends, and you find yourself in the room, and you can see in her right hand is a dagger. And I suppose you also bow in life as well.
Absolutely. And I should have said this earlier, but before I left, I wanted to ask Harathif about the room so that I can sleep somewhere at night. But
yeah. Okay. All right. So I'll bring everyone back.
feel bad for taking up so much time, but yep. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Right.
Right. So as I mentioned, before I actually left, I wanted to just ask Harathif if I could have a room prepared so I can actually stay the night, because I did not have one previously.
Tell you what, you can stay downstairs. There's a spare room, and there's a place at the barracks downstairs.
Okay. Then that's where I'll return.
Are you going to take him down underneath the keep?
I will glance at Harathia first.
Okay.
Oh yeah, he'll nod.
All right. So, Zema, would you like to describe how Samita gets there?
Okay, so can we have the map up? I suppose that might help. Just briefly, not the actual map, but just the starting point, and then that way.
Sure.
So, yeah. So
So Zaymar leads you through to a tunnel at the back of the keep.
Yes. So there's a door out the back of the meeting room, and then there's a thin corridor. I look up at the guard who's positioned above the trapdoor, and
He steps aside and gives you a nod. So there is a trapdoor here, but it's covered in rubble and bits of wood and things, and made to look very natural in the broken down part of the keep.
Okay.
welcome to the new construction. And then I reach down and lift up the trapdoor and quickly slip down the ladder to the floor below. And then I lead him on a sort of an arcing curved route around and down a series of steps until eventually the corridor splits left and right. And I gesture up to the left, and up there is where Adalbert conducts some of his studies. I think you'll find out it comes out above where his library is, but this way. And I walk past and down the corridor, and then it sort of goes round in a big curve, and you probably realise that you're following the exterior of the hill that the keep is on, so that this is running lower but down on the motte of the keep.
Right.
And running around the outside as it sort of follows round, and then it arcs all the way round, and then eventually there is straight ahead, there's a large portcullis that you can see that's raised with some large wide steps going down, and then they turn to the right and look to be going down further. But on the right hand side there is a doorway, and inside there is barracks and a kitchen and a mess table and things like that, and room for what you see is about 10 beds down there as well.
Okay.
And it all has the recent smell of rock that has been chiselled out and wood that has been put into place, and it all smells quite new. So as you find your place in the underneath the ruined keep, and you almost feel the weight of the rock and the ground above you, and everyone else heads to their own respective sleeping places, we will end the session. And I will thank you for your patience in allowing Kevin a moment with Princess Mayonara.
Thank you guys. Hand gestures.
Yeah.
I'll send you a list, Simon, but on the way back to my house, can I go by the quartermaster for the keep? And I'll just send you a list of things I've asked them for.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, and before I go to sleep, I would painstakingly make 10 good berries times however many things I'm able to. So
Okay.
that's what, 40, 70, 80.
80?
Unfortunately, they have an expiration date, but yeah. It's a lot.
I know.
80 good berries. There you go.
Yeah.
Right, we better get into battle within 24 hours. Arathea's like...
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Saunt. Yeah, the beginning was pretty cool too. So do check out the YouTube when that's up. Thanks. Yeah, that was an intense session, but I think it was good.
Was it?
And please do follow and subscribe. And what we have next is a Q&A for the players and myself. So if you have any questions, then do throw them into chat. Thanks, Crash Cat.
No,
Oh, yeah, the tree talk. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh, dear. Thank you everyone for joining so much.
Yes, thank you.
Nice.
So I will bring up my questions, but if you want to ask the players anything, then drop it in chat and I'll ask on your behalf. So the first question is for Kevin. As the other characters engage with child gods, heartbeats, and the threat to Trillin, what is dominating Samita's thoughts?
Well, I think what is dominating her thoughts was kind of given away, at least to the audience there. in our final
That's it.
15 minutes, but I don't know that I can say that.
That's
But
fair
I think that I think from a very obvious perspective, the tongue itself is definitely bothering her and kind of keeping her occupied. She's trying to keep up with everything and be useful and also perform her mission for the Empress. But there's a very obvious handicap that she is, I think, quite obviously struggling to deal with as well.
Fair enough. Yeah, I imagine so. Question for Matt. Was Adalbert expecting to find himself so much at home in Trillin? A partner like Baha, a friend in Karina, a book club, music night?
No, it is the very short answer. Kind of, Adalbert's kind of moved around a fair amount. Two kind of stable places growing up, both of which were very different. And kind of after that, he sought comforts on his travels. He kind of goes around collecting knowledge, collecting information, and is used to being kind of feared and respected, and kind of what that is, what's brought with that, those kind of things. So then finding kind of himself in a little thatched village in a damp, dank, ruined keep, kind of wasn't someone who thought he'd, linger for any length of time. But he's slowly gentrifying it. He's the hipster of Trillin, in that sense.
Yeah.
But I think part of it is, he's convinced them to kind of invest in. And I know he knows Harathia isn't against the idea, which in a sense actually surprises him, but kind of investing in a Trillin that he can see in the future. So his kind of courtyard did townhouse, and these cultural events. He's changing it to fit him. And as you said, having Valha, having someone to share it with, is always nice.
All right. Question for Mads. How different was Mads' expectation reaction to the villagers in the house last session compared to Ilithia's?
I don't think me as a player, I had expectation. Well, no, actually. So my expectation was, something awful has happened because of the heartbeat, and someone's hurt themselves, and Alethea needs to rush over there to try and help out. And instead, they were all shifty AF and basically kind of being like, why are you here? And then there was just a very kind of, as per usual, awkward conversation. So yeah, very, very different to what I like. I was expecting, this is a thing, she can go and save the day to a certain extent, but just
Okay.
more weirdness.
All right.
Like, here's some things that won't poison you.
Wink, wink.
That was hilarious at the end, yeah. The seed you handed over.
I think Alethea's conversations with the villagers of Trillin are amongst the best content.
Yeah.
It's like they're poles apart. There's no
Fantastic.
intersection there at all. Is there?
I adore it. It's just entertaining. So good.
All right, question for Harathia. What is Harathia's biggest concern as Zaymar talks to Algernon?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky one. He's not sure whether he should be encouraging it or like trying to ban it in some way, because he can see that if Zaymar is clever enough and not foolish, that he could get some useful information. And Hather's got a bit of a sort of blind spot when it comes to sort of thinking deeply about things, and so, you know, that sort of thing could be useful. But on the other hand, he's also well aware that this guy can appear at seemingly random and observe us without us even having a clue he's where he is, aside from Zamar for some reason. So it's dangerous, but so far he's keeping stum about, you know, whether he thinks it's good or bad. He's going to see where it goes a little bit.
Okay. Keeping us in the dark a little bit as well. Question for Zamar. How does Zamar feel talking to a child god? How does it compare to encounters in the past?
Sometimes when he's having conversation, he's often having conversations with people who are a lot more powerful than him and a lot more dangerous than he is. So that bit's the same.
Okay.
The problem is that the normal rules with which you would navigate those things, like, or the normal sort of set of guide rails he has constructed himself in to stop him saying the wrong thing, don't seem to apply here in any way. It's like when you're suddenly having to deal with as I sort of mentioned briefly, a murderous child god, and everything sort of goes out the window. So he feels extreme. It's like everything is like walking on ice, and he's like putting his foot down and pressing it to see if it creaks first. But a part of him is so enamored of the fact that he thinks, rightly or wrongly, that everything that Algenor's doing and saying appears to be childlike, and therefore that is a massive weakness. And so every time he speaks to Aldenor, he seems to be able to get information out of him. And he's not sure whether he's actually more intelligent and just releasing it to him, but he doesn't care. He's kind of like, this is, as opposed to going up against professionals who know what they're talking about and him trying to get information out of a professional who knows when to keep their mouth shut, this one doesn't. And so for him, it's like, opportunity here to sort of extract information, as long as you don't put your foot wrong and end up being smited. So, yeah.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. Question for Kevin. How does Samita feel about Zamar? This is kind of really in reference to the fact that Alithia was trying to ship you last session, but...
I think she is impressed and very wary as a result around him. In a way, she recognizes, to her an equal, which might offend Zamar's sensibilities to hear that, but she recognizes someone with similar inputs, and yeah, that's people that you need to be most careful with when it's someone who can do your job the same way, and you don't know how they regard you. So I think she's very wary and careful around Zamar, but also interested, because it's also an opportunity to learn, obviously.
All right. Question for Matt. How much does Adalbert trust Baha?
I think unconditionally. It's someone who, when the moment they met and Adalbert looked into his eyes and saw that adoration and wonder, that was it. Someone who loves me this much obviously can be trusted to look after me. So I don't think he doubts Zamar. Baha. Gosh, Freudian slip. Daddy issues. So then it's kind of going in It's going into that idea that it's yeah, and because Baha is the person who kind of made it comfortable for Adabeth, who was unsure and hiding, and Baha's the plain talking that Adabeth needs in any sort of relationship. So I think he trusts him completely.
All right, and you have a point of inspiration from Saunt.
Yeah.
For your brother trying to fix the tears or tears. I think it's tears, isn't it? But yeah. I read it as tears to begin with. Question for Mads. Was Lithia focused on shipping Samita and Zamar? Sorry, let me start again. With Lithia focused on shipping Samita and Zamar, what is Lithia's type?
Type of person? Someone who is very, very obvious because she's not going to get it otherwise.
Fair enough.
I think, as Alithia said in the session, she's looking for a place. I think that she's very naive, and I think that could be potentially dangerous for her. I think maybe she has friends who will stop her from getting in these situations, but she's also very, very obtuse because she does not pick up these social signals at all. So yeah, someone who, I don't know, someone who is very obvious and like actually tells her and is like, just as like socially, or is able to deal with her social cluelessness.
I can't wait for that pickup line in Zabraz's bar. Somebody else.
Yeah, somebody walks up and says, "You're really nice. Do you want a drink?" And they were like,
"Yeah, all right, love. Do you come here often?" Yeah. Yes, I do. I'm here every day.
Oh, that conversation. That's going to be good. All right. Question for Horathia. Why was Horathia avoiding the princess so much?
Well, it's nothing deep or particularly secret. It's just that he had stuff he needed to talk about, and the princess would have been a distraction to that. He didn't want her around just because, being a princess, she thinks she's the most important person in the room, and therefore would demand attention that he just didn't. He didn't want to be bothered with it.
Right.
So it wasn't Cloak and Daggers particularly. It's just that if she was in the keep, he'd have gone elsewhere. He'd have stayed at Adalbert's place or something.
Okay, fair enough. Question for Zamar. What does Zamar think Aldrinor really wants?
Zamar thinks that he does wonder if he's just like an ordinary child and he just wants attention. Unfortunately, but I think now he has a clearer idea that maybe he thinks Aldrinor wants, like for whatever reason, if he thinks this thing is his father or something like that, then yeah, I don't know. Zamar thinks that whatever his motivation is, it's probably very, very simple and very, very basic. Which makes him dangerous.
Question for Kevin. How does Samita feel about the fact none of the villagers appreciate her sacrifice in sending the riders away?
I think if it were pointed out to her, she could be bitter for a moment, but her line of work and her life has been in the shadows, so a lack of appreciation is essentially the core of her job and her life. There are very few people that can appreciate what she does in the first place, which ties back to the last question, because that's why she has an interest in Zamar. He's probably one of the few people who could also appreciate that, and she definitely can appreciate it about certain other people.
Fair enough. Makes me feel like having Samita and Zamar in that side of the the picture is a good thing. All right. question for Matt. How guilty does Adalbert feel for bringing the Forgotten Tribe to the shores of Trillan? I mean, not you personally, but the group.
I don't think he's actually thought about it. So, no, I don't think he is. I think in his mind, you know, the world's a dangerous place and he's protecting people. He knows, I mean, through his work, he knows corruption is spreading, that corruption is becoming more and more widespread, more prevalent. So it would have reached Trillan at some point anyway. At least now there's well, it may have arrived slightly early. At least there's an army and there's a group of people doing everything they can to fight it. So I don't think, selfishly, I don't think he feels guilty. He continues to see himself as the saviour he is.
All right. Question for Mads. You mentioned you felt a lot of the feelings going through Alithia before Horathia's talk.
I missed. How did Adalbert bring the Forgotten Tribe
He
to
didn't.
Trillan? Oh,
The group.
I think
the group.
our presence drawn them in.
Really?
As far as you know. Or maybe you don't know. I mean, obviously, Alithia is not aware. Question for Mads. You mentioned you felt a lot of the feelings going through Alithia before
Yeah.
Horathia's talk
Yeah.
and during. What emotions did you experience as a player?
So it's weird. Like sometimes it's very much Alithia would do this, and I'm just sitting here, like kind of, you know, like playing a computer game almost sort of thing. But sometimes there's real immersion, and you almost become like that player. And I think those are like the really beautiful moments, because it just means that like when someone's really kind of hitting that, you know, part of you or whatever, and that they're really kind of capturing their character, I think those are really, really awesome. That's why I was like, well done, Chris, because that was so perfectly done.
What's so bad about it?
Don't. D&D's like therapy. What emotions? I think Alithia, lots. So she was obviously upset because she is getting told off, and she has fucked up, and it's never nice when you have fucked up and you know you fucked up. So there was like, you know, feeling upset from that. It was kind of, I guess, feeling a bit scared almost, because she's like, you know, is he going to get rid of me? Like, I'm causing so much trouble, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I don't really fit in here. Am I going to go? Also feeling really angry, being like, fuck you. I can do shit that you couldn't imagine. And, you know, I'm not going to, like, sit around and wait for, like, Mr. Fancy Pants to give every single order. What else? Yeah, I think those were like the main things, but I think like overarching, it was just like feeling a little bit rubbish, and like I guess that being talked to and like that power over, that's quite difficult for her because she's quite like a free spirit. So yeah, but she recognizes why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an important moment, I think.
Yeah. It's
right.
happened before, though. This is the worry.
Yeah. 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 Question for Horathia.
Yeah, Horathia was more shouty last time, though.
Yeah, that's true.
How was Horathia feeling before meeting each gang member?
Well, he was probably feeling unusually sort of nervous, which is why he'd written stuff down. You know, he had a feeling there was something important, and he didn't want to miss the saying any of this stuff because he's got, and this is the sort of thing that he's not going to say. Well, he did sort of say it in a roundabout way in today's session, but he's got a bunch of people who've got loads of potential to make a real difference. And given that he's trying to change the gang to achieve more meaningful things, maybe, you know, he feels that the people he's surrounded himself with can help him achieve those more meaningful things. But you're not going to achieve those things if you end up dying, and the situations we're placing ourselves in are very likely to kill us if, you know, we don't act as a team. So yeah, he I mean, that wasn't all his notes weren't actually all about the characters, about, you know, orders to send and all this sort of stuff, but you know, that's why he was later up than everyone else, because he was putting his thoughts down, and it takes him a little while.
Is this a new, more careful Horathia?
Well, I don't know. He's thinking more deeply about something than he normally does, and you know, you can be off the cuff, and that's fine, and he's okay at that. But sometimes if you really think something's important, and you're used to fighting in the heat of the moment and not talking in the heat of the moment, if you see what I mean, he thought it best to write these things down, and he knew. I mean, he doesn't know if he's done a good job with it at all. But he's done the job that he's done, and it was important. So yeah, he was feeling slightly nervous.
I like to think that when he was writing these notes, he's got a really tiny little pencil, and his tongue's sticking out, and he's really concentrating. I don't know why that image came into mind, but. Question for Zamar. How does Zamar calibrate his effectiveness if praise from people like Horathia goes straight over his head?
Yeah, it's he's always calling Zamar useful or whatever, but it doesn't really affect him at all. I mean, even when he was in the negotiation or the with Horathia, he was, just to sort of frame it, he was waiting for him to make his point so that he could say yes and move on. It was like it wasn't exactly disengaged from the conversation, but he could hear that it was. He's been through so many negotiations or whatever, and Zamar's already pre-decided his answer or whatever, you know, because he's standing there. It's like, if he wasn't going to accede to any of Horathia's things, he wouldn't be standing there. So Horathia would have called him in, and it'd be like, Zamar. He just wouldn't have gone. So so he was mostly sitting there, like, making sure that he didn't say anything threatening going through. But sorry, I just wanted to get that off my chest there. But sorry, the question was about
how do you calibrate your effectiveness?
Yeah.
You're not interested in other people's opinions.
No, mostly he doesn't really calibrate his effectiveness. His biggest problem is that he feels massively threatened all the time with his, like, he's amongst some very, very powerful people, and he is not, like, especially powerful in that way, and that means that he has to be very, very careful with how he negotiates and goes through and navigates that world. So his effectiveness is mostly constantly reviewing his progress and whether he gets himself into trouble, whether he steps a foot right. So previous conversations have not gone as simply as and as easily. It's like Horathia was about to say, but Zamar already decided ahead of time exactly what he needed to say to get out of that conversation as quickly as possible. So he's already pre-planned what he's going to say in order to get Horathia to just go, yeah, and it's just, yes, of course, and then go. That's his measure of effectiveness.
So the length of time of the conversation, basically. Yeah, that was like 30 seconds. I'll do 20
exactly.
next time.
and that was exactly planned. He's like going through there, and he's just like tick tick tick, waiting until the moment. Can I say okay? Yes, okay. I agree.
That's like a school child being told off by the teacher, saying all the right things just to get out of there and learning nothing.
I mean, that's part of it is a bit like that, but it's not, in that he's it was if that school child was already knew the lesson. It's like I but broke it on purpose or whatever. It's just kind of like, it's not about learning stuff. He was interested in what Horatia had to say in case he added any new rules to the bargain that he wasn't prepared for. But but he didn't think there was gonna be. So I wouldn't say he didn't learn anything, because he always learns something. It has that connotation and would seem to come across like that. But I don't know, it's not quite the same. But probably, is there a difference though? I don't know, probably not.
All right. Final question for Kevin. Seeing the others go into Horatia's meeting room, was Smita aware of the way everyone felt and reacted?
I don't think so. I mean, she's trying to remain aware of the reactions and emotions that the people around her are feeling, but she's, especially in that time, she was particularly preoccupied. So I think until she got into the meeting room and sensed the air and how people were communicating, she had no idea what she was walking into, which is quite uncommon for her, and which is why she was so quiet and didn't ask to be included in the conversation until quite late, because then she knew, okay, this is what I'm looking at. But before that, she was actually a bit lost for a change.
Okay. Final question for Matt. Was Adalbert surprised that Horatia needed to say there's no challenge for leadership?
Yes. And this is why, kind of, when he came out, he kind of said to Baha, can we have a chat? Because I think he was surprised in the I won't go into it now in case we do have that conversation. But I think he was surprised by in general.
All right. Question for Mads. How does Alicia think she's done up until the talk from Horatia?
Done how?
In the gang.
I mean, Alithia doesn't quite understand what this whole gang business is. Like, she can't really measure how she's done. She's not a thug by any means. Like, she can be powerful, but she's not a thug. So I don't think she measures how she's done. I think with Alithia, she knew she fucked up when, there was this massive bolt of multicolored spring to autumn light coming out of her. But she wasn't expecting that. She was just expecting, just a little flare of like divine light coming out, and then this would die, and then everyone could be on their way, and you could take on these things. She doesn't actually think she's done anything wrong until someone points it out. Yeah. I don't think I think she's aware of what's going on. I think she's insightful, but she doesn't necessarily have like a very tactical mind. There we go. Yeah.
Makes sense. Final question for Horatia. You mentioned that Horatia thought the talks went better than expected. What negative outcomes did he expect?
Well, Horatia being the kind of guy that he is, you can imagine he's leading a gang of which he's been a very prominent member for a long time. He'll have faced challenges before from the sort of people that he's used to dealing with, and in what is a gang of like assassins, thieves, and pirates, some of those would have been rather pointed challenges to his leadership, which he would have had to have put down, literally. So this is sort of the background of the situation. So he leads a gang. In Adalbert in particular, he has somebody who has a sort of rival power base with his association with the Golden Leaf and his control, if you like, or command, I should say, of the Astravi and Golden Leaf soldiers. So to Harate, that's a very strong potential threat to his position. So he sort of assumes that that's how someone else is gonna be viewing it, because he's sort of used to people rising up in prominence in the gang and having to be slapped down or put down.
So he was a little surprised when Adalbert wanted to build a library.
Yeah, well, all of that, yeah, but that's sort of background, that's sort of fluff. That's what Adalbert's like. He may not sort of fully get his head around it, but fine, people are different, sort of thing. But underlying them, surely he still has this ambition to be like a rival power and to challenge him.
You think
and when he just,
it's a dastardly ploy
he just
Library.
offhandedly said, yes, you can, of course you can have what you want. No, I don't want the leadership. It was like, oh, okay. So he was a bit thrown by that more than the other talks. He was most sort of off balance from that and surprised.
All right.
So don't worry, Harry, if they go back like the past couple of 100 years, who are the driving force behind rebellions? It's students. You start with a library, get to the university, and there we go.
True. All right, last question of the evening for Zamar. If Zamar were in Harathia's position, what would he have said to Harathia?
What about the...
If he'd brought Harathia into the meeting room for a chat.
Oh my god. I can't even imagine. Like, talk about the hardest question. What would Harathia have said? Or what would Zamar have said to Harathia if he'd have brought him in? Is that way round? Is
Yeah.
That how we...
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay. He would probably say, just keep doing what you're doing. Everything seems to be okay. Just try a little harder to not annoy everybody, because you sometimes need them on your side.
Good talk.
Of course, Harathia being Harathia would have gone into that any meeting like that with the thought that, is this the moment I take control?
Yeah.
I should be the leader.
All right, cool. Well, thank you for sticking with us, and I hope you enjoyed the session. We'll be streaming again next week at the same time, 8 p.m.
Oh, there's a question from Maris.
Oh, did I miss something?
Yeah, just now.
Just popped up.
How would he deal with the situation if another power leadership came from someone close opposed to someone completely new?
Yeah. No, don't apologize at all. So when you say someone close, do you mean someone in the party? Because that was obviously what he was expecting in a way with Adalbert.
I think he means somebody from the gang that you've known for a while. So nobody in the group at the moment.
Yeah, so
Bell or something, or not Zabrath.
yeah,
I've been cleaning this class for years.
I meant Bell, probably his second in command to his. Yeah.
Yeah, so having said that he doesn't trust people and he doesn't have any friends, the closest person to either of those that he's got in the gang will be Bell. So it depends who they are and what he thinks of them. So Bell, he's not likely to effectively murder her to stop the challenge. He'd find some other way of putting them down. So it would probably involve a bit of humiliation, because if you haven't got the respect of the general gang, then you're not going to lead it very well. So if you can embarrass them, then that undermines their position. But if he didn't like them and he thought they were complete git and could never be trusted, then he's not above literally killing them for it. It's
Yeah,
the
and
lay of the land.
And I think all of that can be summarised with Horatia has a plan.
Really?
Building on that point, Horatia, just kind of challenging for people you've known for a long time. What would Horatia do if Bran decided he wanted to be the alpha?
That's brilliant.
Yeah. So you see, well, having said having said that Belle is the closest thing to a friend, I mean, Bran is his friend. But, you know, that's just how it is. So, I don't know. That's very left field.
There's a follow-up question from Maras, which is, how alone does Horatia feel?
That's one of those I'm not going to properly answer,
Okay.
really. In a way, sort of alone is where he is. He's used to it. That's his domain. But I'm not going to elaborate any more than that.
All right, thank you for the last-minute questions. Very good ones.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for that.
If there's no one around, does yeah.
No, no worries.
Not that sort of alone.
Any shout-outs, Alithia?
Any shout outs? Thank you to you all for watching. We love you very, very much. Shall I do? Oh, I figured out how to see the users now. So thank you, Koitsushima. Thank you, Lasjas. Thank you, Maris, Crash Cat, and Play Acted for staying until the end. Thank you, as always, to Athena. You are wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone in Tabletop TV who kind of boost each other up, and thank you to Hopes for TTRPG. They popped in earlier, and you know, it's just a wonderful, lovely, supportive community. I've been low on spoons, so I've not been kind of putting as much in, but I do enjoy kind of lurking on Twitter and seeing all the fantastic stuff that's going on. So carry on, and thank you so much. And remember to like, follow, subscribe here and YouTube, and where else are we? Simon?
That's it. And don't forget to don't forget to watch Tales of Adair on 5 p.m. BST, which is 9 p.m. Pacific time, and that's on Chaotic Stupid Media's channel, where you'll see.
It's awesome. It's really great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
People with
And
more
now
of a
is a
plan than
really
Horatia.
good time. Now is a really good time to start because there's a new arc. So there's only one episode you need to catch up on, and it was really great.
That's true. Yeah. So we're going to raid check these out, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. And take care of
So-
yourselves and take care of each other. Bye.